Labour admits that the UK has been training IDF soldiers. The UK being complicit in Israel's genocide is hardly a secret. They have given them cover for far too long. They continue to sell weapons, and when it comes down to it, only offer mealy-mouthed words of condemnation. But the level of complicity keeps going deeper. The news came in response to a written question at Westminster put in by Labour MP for York Central, Rachel Maskell. Maskell asked when the last time a member of the Israel Defence Forces was trained by the UK Armed Forces. In a response published on Wednesday, Armed Forces Minister Luke Pollard admitted that the UK was currently training IDF soldiers in the UK. Pollard said, as part of routine defence engagement with Israel, the UK is currently training a limited number of Israel Defence Forces personnel on UK-based training courses. Maskell also asked Pollard of British spy planes. She asked, when was the last time his department provided A, Israeli government, and B, Israel Defence Forces with surveillance data of Gaza from Royal Air Force planes? Pollard, in his response, referred only to previous answers in which he said the UK controls what information is passed to Israeli authorities. Surveillance information of Gaza is passed to the relevant Israeli authorities only where it relates to hostage rescue and where we are satisfied that it will be used in accordance with international humanitarian law. I am unable to comment further on detailed intelligence matters. Sarah, it was only a couple of days ago when the UK sanctioned Bezalel Smotrich and Itamar Ben-Gvir in a personal capacity. All that means is nothing, right? We continue to sell arms, but we're also literally helping train their soldiers. What does that say about some of the disgusting practices the IDF gets to? I mean, do our soldiers do the same thing? Are they learning the same thing off them?
Yeah, really great question. I mean, it's frightening because it goes back to the show that you did on Monday, that it's performative. It's all performative, and we could have seen it from a mile away. When they gave these sanctions, we were like, well, why don't you just sanction Netanyahu while you're at it as well? It's not just about these extremists. It's also about the fact that Netanyahu is an extremist himself. And I think what it says is that this government's moral pasturing is literally just theatre. It's pure theatre. You can slap sanctions on a couple of extremist individuals or extremist ministers, but if at the same time you're training the soldiers who carry out the massacres that are happening at the moment in this genocide, then you're not neutral. You're simply complicit, and that's why I'm feeling frustrated with the fact that all of these performative acts that they do are feeling insulting, and the IDF. They're proving they are not a normal army. This is not a normal military. They exist to enforce a system of apartheid. And that's the word that's literally been used by Amnesty. I'm not making this up. Human Rights Watch, even Israeli groups like B'Tselem, I don't know how to pronounce it, but B'Tselem, they have literally said this as well. So the IDF has routinely used live fire on unarmed civilians. We don't need to see more videos of it happening. We don't need to see any of it unfolding the way that it is. And there is intelligence sharing. Like, I think since 2014, UK surveillance planes have flown hundreds of missions over the Eastern Mediterranean, and leaked reports show that the RAF aircraft was actually gathering signals intelligence. Like, these things have happened. We've always been complicit. We continue to be complicit. But we've already seen Israel bomb multiple hostage sites. So what exactly is this data being used for? That's what's frustrating me. We are so involved in everything that's happening in Gaza at the moment, everything that's happening with Israel and the things that they do. As to whether if our soldiers will do the same, I think we just have to look at Britain's own colonial record for a thing to use. Northern Ireland, Kenya, Iraq, like, British forces have literally have their own deep history of collective punishment, torture, and extrajudicial killing. So would it surprise me that any of this is unfolding? No, it doesn't, but it breaks my heart because the idea that the UK is teaching Israel how to behave better is laughable.
I mean, the IDF are notorious for their lack of discipline, so they will often ignore orders and start firing on innocent people. Not that the Israeli state cares, by the way, because often they'll sign off on that. But there's that culture, that sick culture within the IDF where they sort of go even further. And I feel like the government really wanted to keep this on the down low, but Rachel Maskell clearly had other ideas. Now, in terms of spy planes, right, Pollard said that we only give them intelligence on the whereabouts of the hostages. I mean, do you even buy that? And look, if we were to believe that for just a second, let's just go with it, right? All of the hostages that were killed by Israel's hand, surely that means we are blamed for it as well, because we are to blame for it too, because if we're navigating and helping them where the hostages are, and then they end up bombing buildings and there's hostages in there to kill them, this is on us too.
I don't buy it for 1 second. I don't think anyone buys it. I don't even think the ministers believe it as well. Like, these only for hostage rescue, like those lines, I think, for pure legal cover. I think it's like, listen, let's just like cover our backs so that when evidence of UK complicity emerges, they can claim like plausible deniability. I think the reality is that Britain is providing Israel with surveillance data gathered by very, very sophisticated aircraft. And strategically, we need to think, like, why is Britain even involved? Because this isn't about saving lives. It's about cementing Britain's role as some sort of like junior partner in US-led imperialism. I always view the UK as this, this baby of the US. Like, we're basically the US's little bitch. And the same alliance that fuels wars across the Middle East now drags us into Israel's crimes. So this is not in the interest of British people at all. And I don't want anyone to ever think that it is. It serves the arms dealers, the political elite, and the imperial project. It doesn't serve anyone outside of that. And if we actually had a government that had some sort of moral courage, we would cut off all of those arms sales with no questions asked, end military training, and stop sharing intelligence with a genocidal regime that does not favor anyone apart from their own apartheid interests. I think until then, every Palestinian killed and every Israeli hostage bombed by their own state carries our fingerprints too. And history is not going to forget that. And I do wonder how it will be reported on in the future, or whether this will make part of any sort of educational curriculum in the UK. Who knows?
Sarah's cooking, absolutely cooking
Oh,
that fire.
it's that
Loved
nap
it.
I had. It's that nap. The
Is
nap
that
I had.
nav?
I think it just gave me some insight into how Britain is so fucking
Yeah.
performative. No, we've always known it. We've always known it.
I mean, the thing is, though, when it comes to like arms sales, that's sort of an
Mm.
to use the term arms, like an arms sort of length complicity, right? It's easy to do because you're not looking at it, you're not there. It's signing some sort of paper and signing off on it, right? But when it comes to training or helping train the IDF, that's so visceral. It's right there, and you just think, wow. I mean, clearly, obviously, our government has no moral backbone. We wouldn't be supporting Israel in this. But one could say, when you sort of distinguish two different kinds of violence, right? One is a systemic violence, which, if you're a person in power, you don't feel guilty because, again, you're just sort of, you're a pen pusher, and the policy and effects are what's violent. And there's another form of violence where you're literally committing that violence, and clearly it's a lot more real, a lot more visceral to that said person. And I'm just thinking, when it comes to training these IDF soldiers, that is so involved, right? It's not just, oh, we're sending weapons to them and sort of like not thinking about it. We are there, and yet we still do it. And it completely contradicts, I think, the slight shift, and I say ever so slight shift, in the rhetoric from the UK and other Western governments sort of taking Israel to task, or at least individualizing it when we're talking about certain people like Smotrich and Ben Gavir, and then they sort of just admit, oh, by the way, we also train these soldiers too.
You're so right in saying that it's so explicit. Like, it's such an explicit move to make. It's like, hey, yeah, we're going to train you guys. And you rightly said this as well. Israel has already bombed hostage sites. Like, we've got the evidence. We see it every single day. Their military has admitted this openly as well. I think and just thinking about the UK data, like, if this UK data was used even indirectly, then yes, we're complicit in those deaths. But morally, the idea that we trust the IDF to only use British intelligence lawfully is actually absurd in and of itself. And we know that that army operates outside of international law on a daily basis. So if the government gives them tools of war, then they absolutely share the responsibility for those results. And that's what we're doing. I think we've been sharing the responsibility of all the things that have been happening as a result in Gaza and in Palestine the minute we started selling these arms. And now even more so when we're training soldiers. That makes zero sense to me. And I just find so much hypocrisy with it as well, because we did a story months back when Starmer had made this announcement that, yeah, we're willing to put soldiers on the ground in Ukraine. And I'm like, whose side are you on? Like, whose side are you on? You want to back Ukraine, and rightfully so, Ukraine should be backed wholeheartedly. But when it comes to the explicit harm that is the IDF soldiers and Israel doing to innocent civilians in Gaza. It's like, no, let's train you to make you even better. Like, what? It makes no sense.
Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.